no food, no cell phone service, and I had ran out of water. At that point in time, that was probably one of the few or one of the only points in time where I wished that I was home. Welcome back to Stories from the Road, a series of stories where I talk about some of the experiences I had while riding my bike from Detroit, Michigan to San Francisco. It's not necessary that you've seen parts 1 through 5 before hearing the story, but today we are going to be getting into part 6. If you've came from the previous parts, I thank you very much for continuing to watch, and if you haven't seen them, I do recommend that you check them out. The conditions were actually, there's a lot of up and down, but overall, it was a gradual increase in elevation. The only thing is, this thing tends to... Starting on day 3 in Santa Fe, part 5 of the story leaves off with me arriving in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I just made it to Santa Fe. It was a long fucking ride today, like 8 hours. And I couldn't be happier to be here because it looks like some rain is gonna be rolling in. Santa Fe would be the first city or the first place on this cross-country journey that I stayed more than 2 nights. I ended up staying 3 nights in Santa Fe, and I was able to stealth camp in and around the city each night. Pretty pleasant sleep. I slept on the ground. I used my bivvy and my blanket and everything and my mat, and it was good. The only thing is there was people there with their dogs very early in the morning. So it's one of those deals where you just got to get out real early in the morning. Most of my time in Santa Fe was spent hanging in and around the plaza.
Just give me an hour and...
However, I did take the time to venture off into the surrounding neighborhoods and the mountains. So I'm pretty much starting on day 3 in Santa Fe. It just was a convenient and really nice city to take a break in. And I'm just kind of exploring, and I just climbed a huge hill. I had breakfast. I slept in like a nature/dog park last night. Exploring over here. And that's about it. I'll probably leave tomorrow. And I'm done with the limited services. Enjoying the beautiful weather, the beautiful mountains, beautiful everything here in Santa Fe, the beautiful people, the experience. The city is unlike any that I've seen so far. Really, this is my favorite city since South Haven, Michigan. It's just, it's awesome here. So with that, I'm out. After 3 nights in Santa Fe, I had just the amount of rest I needed, and it was time to hit the road again. It's been 3 days, it's been great, but I'm out of Santa Fe now, heading out. So I'm pretty good distance from Santa Fe at this point. I'm back out on my own again, secluded again out here, and I'm really in the mountains this time. I mean, I thought I was in the mountains, but now I'm like in the fucking mountains, dude. No doubt about it. And it's crazy. Santa Fe was nice with the people. I met a older couple at the plaza yesterday. There was another live music show. It was country. I sat with them, talked with them, and hung out for a little bit. And, you know, Santa Fe was nice, and being around the people was nice. And then it's like just as soon as it came, now it's gone, and I'm back out here alone again. That's the one thing about being in the city, and if you don't have a hotel room or anything, and you don't get a whole lot of alone time, you know, to where right now I can say what I want, scream what I want, do whatever the hell I want. No one's here to observe me. Except these mountains. Man, and I'll tell you what, I was just climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing for a couple of miles. And then I had a nice downhill, and now I'm flat again. So we'll see what happens. I'm just heading towards Albuquerque. This guy almost just didn't make it across the road. Moving all slow. Beautiful. Although it was nice and a relief being out of the city, that day would end up being one of the most challenging rides in the journey. It was through remote areas of the mountain with no services. I had no food, no cell phone service, and I had ran out of water. To make matters worse, I had found out that something had gone wrong with my bike. Now, I had had flat tires throughout this journey, but this was the first thing that actually was a mechanical malfunction or a mechanical problem in my bike, and it was in the rear axle. The rear axle was actually broken, and the only thing that was holding together the whole thing was the quick release. Now, it was rideable. I ended up riding until I got to Flagstaff, Arizona with this broken rear axle, but it was just another negative thing that was affecting my mindset that day. So I had been riding many hours, many miles through the mountains, mainly uphill. At this point, I was completely out of water. I was completely exhausted. I was, for lack of better words, my morale was terrible, down in the dumps. At that point in time, that was probably one of the few or one of the only points in time where I wished that I was home. I thought about how good it would feel to just lay down in my bed, to see my friends and family that I hadn't seen in about 2 months at this point. But instead, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, alone, riding my bike through the mountains of New Mexico. I remember saying to myself in my mind, I possibly even said it out loud, I was asking the universe, please, I need something good to happen. And as the old saying goes, you ask and you shall receive. So after riding what had to have been, it was over 30 miles. It may have been 50. Through the mountains, no service stops. The only town that I had gone through was called Madrid, and it was hardly a town. I arrived in a place called San Antonio, New Mexico, and it was not a town, it was not a city. It was a gas station and a restaurant, and it was, as far as I can tell, specifically put there for the people who lived in this mountain area. I pretty much had no other option but to take a break. And to make matters worse, as I'm sitting there, I look up in the sky and a terrible thunderstorm is heading right towards me. On top of that, I had no idea where I was going to sleep tonight, and I was far from any type of civilization. As the rain started coming down, I went from the gas station, I walked across the parking lot over to the restaurant because there was an awning underneath. And I also saw two guys that were outside smoking cigarettes. So I striked up a conversation with them and basically told them what was going on with me. They turned out to be plumbers who were installing a hot water tank in this restaurant. And I will tell you right now, these two guys were some of the realest, most down-to-earth dudes that I have ever met in my life. As we're talking, their boss comes out. His name was Jeremy, and we get talking about my story, and these guys are pretty amazed. Right off the bat, the guy asked me if I had anywhere to sleep for the night, and he's like, you know what, dude? You can come stay with us. I'll call my wife right now. I would have stayed with him, but he called his wife, and the grandson was going to be staying the night that night. So that wasn't going to work. But he did say that after they were done with the job that I could come inside the restaurant and eat with them. I do. They end up finishing up the job, and I go inside. I eat with them. We're talking, getting to know each other. I'm talking about my journey and about what I did at home, and we finish up lunch, and ultimately the boss man, Jeremy, says, where are you going to sleep tonight, dude? We want to help you find a place to sleep. And I'm just like, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. I'll go camp somewhere or whatever. And then he kind of pauses for a minute and he thinks, and he's like, Shelly. And then the other two dudes are like, yes, man, call Shelly. And I'm like, Shelly, what's going on here? He calls up Shelly and he's like, I got an emergency. We met this dude and he's out here, stuck out in the middle of the mountains. He's got nowhere to sleep tonight. It's raining and we want to help him out. Do you have a place that he could stay for the night? And after her asking a few questions, she says, yeah. I take all the bags off my bike, throw my stuff in their pickup truck, and they drive me up to this house in the mountains. Beautiful house on a beautiful property. I get there and we start unloading my stuff, and I meet this Shelly woman, and to be completely honest with you, it was just such a sincere experience. These people did not care about what I had. They did not care, or even the thought never even passed through my mind, what can I do for them? They wanted to help me because they were real people and they saw me as a human being. And that's something that I've been lacking since I got home. Going out, you don't have those types of experiences on a daily basis. And I could probably put good money on the fact that many people will go their entire lives without having an experience that's as sincere as that. So she ends up showing me this spare room, beautiful spare room with a little common area, a kitchen, a bathroom, privacy, everything, the whole 9 yards. I take a shower. I end up sleeping 12 hours straight that night. When I woke up in the morning, she wasn't home. I sent her a text telling her, thank you very much. I packed my stuff on my bike and I headed off into the mountains towards Albuquerque. Danger. So last night, or yesterday afternoon, I had made it about 50 miles from Santa Fe, and I was hanging out over at this restaurant area. There was a restaurant and a gas station, and I was hanging out under the awning of the restaurant because there was a storm coming through. And I got to talking to these two guys who were doing some plumbing work at the restaurant and talking to their boss, and they were just really cool, and I ended up having a bite to eat with them, talking with them for a bit, and then the boss man contacted some lady that he knew, and it was raining. I mean, it rained all evening, all afternoon and all evening yesterday, and he called her up and then told her about my situation and that I needed a place to stay. And she said, yeah, that's fine. And we loaded my bike and my bags and shit up into the dude's truck, and he drove me up to her house. And I took a shower and I slept like 12 hours straight. And I just woke up not too long ago, loaded the bike back up, and headed down. And so where I met them last night was about 6 miles from here, where I sit at Route 66. Where I stayed at the woman's house was about 6 miles from here. So I just rode down from where she lived to the subway to get some coffee. And it was awesome. I mean, really, there was nowhere to stay over there, and it was raining, so I was pretty much shit out of luck. And things just came together, and I was able to have a place to stay for the night, and it was really awesome. I slept great, and all the little things like the altitude was doing to me that was bothering me, like the little headache and shit, is gone. So it was nuts. I closed my eyes at like 8 something last night, and I did not open my eyes until like 9 o'clock this morning. So I feel pretty good, and I'm headed into Albuquerque today. So that's what's up. This was another experience on the road that taught me to never underestimate the kindness of a stranger. You never know if there's going to be a point in your life where your fate is determined by somebody you don't know. If you live your entire life skeptical of people and in distrust of everyone you don't know, you could be doing yourself a huge disservice. Not only did it teach me to never underestimate the kindness of a stranger, but it's another reminder that there are very genuine people that are still out there. This kind of ties into the current situation in my life here, where I'm back in Metro Detroit. I'm a young man. I'm trying to put myself out there, going out to the clubs, going out to the bars, going up, talking to people I don't know, strangers, mostly young people my age. And it seems every weekend I end up disappointed, because those types of interactions that I'm having there are just so superficial, so meaningless. Everyone there is so self-centered. They look at me like, what can I do for them? They don't look at me as a human being. They don't care to know me. And it's really hard. It's really hard being back and coming from these experiences where I was meeting complete strangers who were letting me stay in their homes, you know, treating me like a human, not like a commodity. But anyways, that's where I'm going to end part 6 of this story. Part 7 is going to pick up with me coming down the mountains and into Albuquerque. If you've made it this far, I hope that you enjoyed the story. And I'll see you on the next part of Stories from the Road.